Well, hello. It's been some time since I've been on a live. Um, no excuses, just been living life. If I love being like alone. I love writing. I love creating in the background sort of thing. So only when I feel like I have a specific message do I really, feel the need to get on social media. And social media is great, for communicating, expressing ourselves. But this idea that we have to be on all the time, I think, is just a myth. Or if, you need to post so many times a day or a week, or all these content like creators and putting out so much content all the time. To be honest with you, I think this is what's causing a lot of the anxiety nowadays, because we've become informivores. We just craving knowledge sort of thing. But to have a lot of knowledge is not necessarily going to help you out in life, right? It's a different story if you take the knowledge and you actually do something with it. And that's where many of us, that's the behavior that many of us lack, is we're getting all this knowledge, everything from, myself. I love following certain chefs online because I just see their creativity, and I see these wonderful recipes, and I'm just like, okay, this is exciting, let's go. But then life happens, and I may or may not ever make that recipe. But there's just it's just at our fingertips all the time, all this information, and it's just but it's causing us to it's information overload, right? It's sort of I have so much knowledge and information, but what do I actually do with it? And then we get anxious because we're not doing anything with it, So my point is become more intentional with the information you seek. Only follow people that are actually giving you information that is helpful to you, and maybe information that allows you to execute yourself in a way that's easy and helpful. And even speaking about certain chefs, I've been purchasing certain cookbooks that specific chefs put out, because they are sort of I think they're picking up on this, that it can be very overwhelming, and therefore they might create a recipe to use a bunch of leftovers or something like that, or to use up a lot of scraps, and or just will attach one recipe with another that uses up a certain sauce that you might have created for this one recipe. They might suggest another recipe that uses the same sauce, and it sort of takes out all this noise in our heads. And I like following people like that, because it makes a lot of sense to me, because we are again, I'll say, information overload. And we're driven to seek more and more information. But instead of seeking information and knowledge, how about seeking more understanding? And the only way you're going to understand something more is to actually practice what you're listening to or reading or, compiling. And this is something also that I see, with clients coming to see me, especially couples, but individuals as well. It's like they come for the tools and tricks, and things like that, the tips and whatever. But to actually go home and put that into practice is a whole nother, yeah, story, right? Like, I mean, unless you do the things that I'm actually suggesting you to do, why bother? Like, it was kind of funny the other day. I had a session, and maybe this person is actually listening. Probably not though, but I had a session with a guy, and no word of the lie, the entire 50 minutes that I was speaking with him, he did, well, I shouldn't say I was speaking with him. He spoke to me. It was just all him speaking, like barely took a breath. And obviously this person has waited way too long, right? Like he is a loyal client, like, but again, there seems to be times where he'll book one or two in a row, and then I won't see him for an entire year. So no kidding, right? When he comes back on, he just has a lot to say. So, like I said, okay, I gave him an option. I had additional time after the session, so I said, we can continue right now so that I can sort of respond to everything you said to me, or we can wait a week or something. And then I thought, no, you know what? No, it's not fair. I don't want to wait a week to respond to you because I have it all fresh in my mind right now. So what we decided was that I was going to leave him some voice memos as a feedback, and we would book again next week. So that's what I did. But I felt like, hey, this isn't fair. Like, I mean, it's not fair for you to dump this all out on me and then say, I gotta go. Like, that's not my job as a therapist. My job as a therapist coach is to help you and guide you, and ideally while it's fresh in my mind. So, I mean, otherwise it doesn't even make any sense, right? The guy could have spoken to a tree. It would have cost him a lot less, and I mean, he was still vented, and because I honestly didn't really have a chance to say anything. So, except for validating him, basically with my facial expressions, because like I said, I really didn't say anything at all. So, okay, I digress, as I often do, but it is all related. And, also, like, it's Sunday, and you might be thinking, oh, you're doing a live on a Sunday, you're mixing, business with, family, home life on a Sunday. Well, let's be realistic here. Come on, like, everybody drop the whole facade that, I don't work on, after 5, or I don't work on the weekends and stuff like that. If you are a business owner, if you are an entrepreneur, if you are an executive of any sort, I mean, come on, you are feeling like you should be on all the time. But that's not what I want you to be feeling. I want you to think about your life being more like, hey, it's an ebb and flow. Like, if I want to work on a Sunday, or if I want to work at 9 p.m. at night, or whatever, or like on a Monday at 2 p.m., I want to go for a walk, or I want to go grocery shopping, or I want to go to my son's baseball game, or, show and tell, or I want to volunteer at school, or whatever it is. I mean, this is what I want people to do. Like, I mean, that to me only makes sense. And that's why this whole concept of mixing business with pleasure, came to me one day, instead of this whole like work-life balance that we feel like we have to conform to. Like, what is that? Like, what exactly is work-life balance? There's no such thing. To me, there's seasons, just like in life, there's seasons in life, just like there's, climate like seasons, and I'm grateful that I live in a climate that has the 4 seasons still, because it sometimes makes me slow down. And I actually see that my brother is watching right now, who is a farmer, and he can attest that when it's seeding time, you're going and harvesting and stuff like that. But throughout the year, there's times to rest and do other things that you don't feel like you have to be on 24/7 sort of things. So that's how I want you to approach your life, is sort of, don't feel bad, especially as a parent, when you're maybe incorporating some business into your Sunday, and hey, I run a business. I do run a business. I like to think that, I'm just giving information out for free. No, I run a business. Let's be honest. My mission in life, my vision, is for less people to struggle, and especially struggle alone. Because I guess this is one of the wonderful things about being a therapist for so long, and being able to coach people through their difficult times, is that I know it, I see it, and there's so many people struggling. So if you feel like you're the only one out there, you shouldn't feel that way. We all got so much stuff in our head, so much noise, and guilt and shame is one of the things that so many people struggle with, right? And or just feeling like they should be doing something better, or I don't know, happier, or I don't know, but the point is to figure it out. And I honestly feel the best way to do this is through self-reflection. Be silent with your thoughts, sit and just do nothing, and reflect on your day, what was good, what was bad. But I think a lot of us just feel very overwhelmed right now. And it kind of relates back to what I said about, all this information being thrown out at us all the time, and not really knowing what to do about it. And to me, when I have too much stuff in my head, and it's so, I have so many things to do, I don't know what to do next. I don't have a plan. I don't have a scheme. I don't have a template. It's just stuff. And that's another reason why, I have a new program called Mixing Business with Pleasure, because it is really geared towards the executives, the corporates, the business owners, the entrepreneurs, that I see the overwhelm, and I feel it as well. And I really feel like having a guide or a system is the only thing that gets me through gets me focused. And the important part about being focused is that's where the whole execution comes into place, right? You can't just go on the fly. You can't just, do something because it seems to sort of make sense. No, because if you want to change your behavior, there's got to be a way of first coming up with an action plan, and then not only following the action plan, but actually measuring whether or not this is helpful to you. So let's bring it back to relationships. It's sort of, okay, so we need to spend more time in deeper conversations. they might go away, you know, thinking, okay, this is a tip that Luella gave us. So they can just go home, and most people think, oh yeah, that was a good session. We should really do that, you know. But do they actually talk about when they could possibly incorporate this into their week? And how, and that goal of having deeper conversations like needs to be like very clearly defined. Like, what does deeper conversation mean? You know, like, it means we don't talk about the kids. We don't talk about, oh my goodness. We don't talk about the kids. We don't talk about, you know, I was going to say business, but I don't agree with that, because business is a part of who we are. I mean, like, we're spending how much time, you know, during like our day in our careers. So if there's something weighing very heavy on you that relates to your business, then you should share that, because that's what your partner's for. You know, you don't have to be Mr. Tough Guy or Mrs., you know, whatever. Yeah, like it's just sort of, this is what deeper means. It's talking about how you're feeling and the struggles that you're having and what you hope to be able to create, you know, a different life in the future or something like that. And it's all about sharing emotions, sharing concerns, sharing wins, sharing joys, you know, like. So it's sort of like, okay, it's going to happen, you know, every day. It could be every day for 10 minutes when we're washing dishes together, or when, you know, or we're going to incorporate movement in our lives more and go for a 10-minute walk after dinner, or we're going to have our coffee in the morning and set aside 10 minutes before we run out, which means getting up every day a little bit earlier, right? Like, we like define it and then somehow measure it. So at the end of the week, you know, we look at our goal and have we met, you know, the goal, or did we fall short? And if we did, like, we need to revise the goal because this is not working, you know. But that doesn't happen. I can tell you, like, 80% of the couples that see me go home and do nothing with the suggestions I give them. So, and the individuals as well. I mean, I have, like, speak about, like, burnout, you know, especially for women, I'm going to say. I think their whole, you know, the whole endocrine system, balancing of hormones is very delicate. Therefore, we're not meant to be pumping out the amount of adrenaline, you know, epinephrine, cortisol that many women do, because of trying to hold all these different roles and, you know, being superwoman. And burnout is very, very common for women. So yeah, they come in as well. And do they make a follow-up appointment? Do they incorporate? I mean, I shouldn't say that. I mean, sometimes people do come back, you know, in 6 months and say, wow, you know, my life changed when XYZ happened, or a year later, reach out to me, you know, and tell me, like, so I don't know what happens, but like, I can only presume sometimes. So, and we can't assume and presume all our lives, right? That just gets us into trouble. So yeah, I just, burnout is a real thing, and the best way of changing our lives and changing our behaviors is by creating a plan to change our behavior and saying no to more things, if we are experiencing burnout. But sometimes it doesn't mean ridding things in your life. Sometimes it means doing things differently. And my whole motto is that we can have both. We can have exceptional careers, and not, feel like we can't incorporate our career with our personal lives. Again, going back to seasons, there might be a season, whether you're a woman or a man, in business or any sort of entrepreneurial endeavor that you might have, where you do need to grind it, and I'm kind of smiling because, I have 2 adult children. I have 3 adult children, but one balances this out quite well, and the other one is going to reach burnout if he doesn't change his life, because he's all about he's overly doing business and not enough personal. And then I have the other one who's more chill, and where I'm concerned that he's not, for lack of a better word, grinding it a little bit more. Because this is one thing there's a lot of things I do value about the way I was brought up, but to me, work ethic is super important. We do need to work hard. And that's sort of my point, is that if you think that, everything's going to be 50-50 all the time, and you need to balance home life with business life, and it won't work out, because depending on what season you're in, there are times in your business that you do need to grind it, and you do need to work hard. Let's be honest, money compounds, right? So you don't start grinding it when you're 60. You grind it at the earlier ages. And I just spoke about the one son that I'm concerned about. I also reminded him that my early 20s were the best years of my life, and he will never get those years back again. And that's what you do as a parent, though, right? You're the guide on the side. You just sort of nudge them, remind them, you can have both. You can have both. There's I'm sure Elon Musk enjoyed his early 20s. Again, I'm presuming he did. I have nothing to back that up. But anyway, so I think I did see my parents enjoy life as well. They did have their seasons where they worked really hard, but it's kind of interesting. I do remember Sundays being a day off, and I do remember them visiting with other families quite often. And then there's also, I should mention, this whole idea of community is so important. And with that new program that I have as well, it's for individuals, but I would love for, it to be more group type of program that it would be for individuals, because there's something so important about community. And, community used to be, we used to really get our community, our sense of community, from religion. And, belonging to a specific religion has become slowly, has been dissolving now over the years. I mean, even myself, I don't attend mass, on a weekly basis like I did when I was young and that my parents did. But that's where we talked about, that at the end of after mass, that's where we gathered. That's where different couples mingled and talked and connected and helped each other out, and unfortunately, I think now we've losing that sense of community has also contributed highly to our sense of anxiety and this feeling like we need to do it all by ourselves. And it's really unfortunate because, it's not necessary. And unfortunately, even more so, I feel like this community, success, becoming successful is what's replaced religion in many ways. We're striving to be successful when really, I think what we're really longing for is community and to know that we are still belonging to some sort of tribe. The tribe, the community is not success. Because how do you even measure success? What does success even mean? What does freedom mean? Often I hear freedom is able to do whatever I want, whenever I want. I don't know. I know a lot of very unhappy, successful people. So clearly, that's not true. It's something else. And I think it's community that everybody should be striving to go back to and not whatever, whatever their idea of success is. Because it's really hard to measure success, very hard to measure success, just like it is to measure happiness. You really have to look deep inside yourself and ask, what is it that I really need? It's a really hard question to answer. What do I need? What do I want? Sit with that once and try to define that. And, you'll realize it's not materialistic stuff. It isn't. It's not. Because for any of us who have reached those materialistic goals, it just, puts us into a different bracket, and then we want more still. It's not that, it's not that. It's something more. So that's my mission, is to just have people to sort of, really see they have everything that they need right now for their happiness. And I think the biggest thing that we're short on is a sense of community. So in summary, you can mix business with pleasure and still have a very, very satisfied, peaceful, harmonious life as a family and with your friends. You can do both, and just realize that you can do both, and it calls for communication is the biggest thing, is to communicate to those that, your friends. If you have to, skip one evening or one game or whatever that might be because of, your career or business or whatever it is, then just let them know that's what it is. Don't feel guilty about it. Don't isolate yourself. And the same thing in your workplace. There's going to be times where you're going to have to tell the boss, you're going to have to tell a colleague, you're going to have to tell a client that, what, I just can't do it today because of personal reasons. And my goal is also to create like a corporate culture that adheres to their employees' mental health above anything. Because what is, your employee's sick time doing to you? It's definitely not pumping up the bottom line, or retraining employees, having to let them go because they're not feeling fulfilled in the workplace. I mean, it all ties in together. And that's another part of my mixing business with pleasure, is that I also am just launching a subscription internal newsletter service where I essentially write the newsletter talking about all the corporate culture that we need, in the workplace in order to, keep your employees and connect with your employees at a deeper level through good communication, through writing about topics that, include mental health, because it's so important, and acknowledging the fact that we have personal lives. We're not robots, we don't just punch in every day. We have a lot of stuff going on in our heads throughout the day. But if you build that culture of healthy mind and body in the workplace, they can focus on their work, because they're getting like good information. And also a good message from management is that we do actually care about you. And that is, again, creating a community in the business place, right? It's sort of, there you go. You got community at work. You got community in your personal life. And like, let's just mix them all together. So, all right. Have a wonderful Sunday. And I'll see you again when I see you again. Okay, bye.